So in October of this year, I went in for a PET scan, just a routine checkup, and something flared on the PET scan, and it turned out that I have P16 squamous carcinoma at the base of my tongue. So I said to the doctors, I said, well, did this happen because of the lymphoma? And they said, totally unrelated.
At 66, Dave Coulier, best known for his role as Joey Gladstone on the beloved sitcom Full House, finds himself in a deeply emotional chapter that has stunned longtime fans. Once celebrated for bringing laughter and comfort into homes across the world, his journey now reflects unexpected struggles, hidden pain, and a reality few ever saw coming. But how did everything change so drastically for the man who once brought so much joy to others? And what does his story truly reveal about fame, pain, and survival? Let's uncover the heartbreaking details. The shocking diagnosis became life-threatening. What started as something small and easy to ignore soon turned into one of the most frightening moments of Dave Coulier's life. Dave Coulier had no idea that a simple health concern would lead him into a battle he never expected. At first, it looked like nothing serious, just a strange change in his body that didn't feel normal. But as the signs continued, doctors decided to take a closer look. And what they discovered changed everything in an instant. After careful tests and scans, Dave received the devastating diagnosis: Stage 3 non-Hodgkin lymphoma. It was not a mild illness. It was an aggressive form of cancer that spreads quickly and demands immediate and strong treatment. In one moment, his entire world shifted. The laughter, the stage lights, the busy filming days of Full House, and the comfort of his normal life suddenly felt far away. Instead of preparing for comedy shows or enjoying time with loved ones, Dave found himself stepping into a very different reality. He was now facing chemotherapy sessions, long hospital visits, and exhausting treatments that would test his body and mind in ways he had never experienced before. Fear became a constant companion. Every appointment brought new questions, and every scan carried uncertainty about what might come next. For someone who had spent decades making people laugh, the emotional weight of the diagnosis was just as heavy as the physical one. The idea that life could suddenly become uncertain, even dangerous, was deeply unsettling. There were moments of silence, moments of worry, and moments where the future felt unclear. Cancer does more than impact the body. It also takes away a person's sense of safety and control. For Dave Coulier, everything changed overnight. Life suddenly felt uncertain and unpredictable. Things he once saw as normal now felt different and more meaningful. Each day became a quiet struggle through fear, uncertainty, and the reality that nothing was the same anymore. In a matter of moments, the funny man millions adored was no longer just a comedian. He became a patient in a serious fight for survival, standing face to face with fear, change, and a future that no longer felt certain. The discovery of Stage 3 non-Hodgkin lymphoma left Dave Coulier fearful, forcing him into chemotherapy and confronting the terrifying possibility of death. But would he survive this life-threatening disease? And would it mark the end of his struggle? Or was something even more devastating and heartbreaking still ahead? Let's uncover the painful details. The crushing return of cancer. Just when it seemed like the worst part of the storm had passed, life hit Dave Coulier with another cruel and unexpected twist. Dave Coulier had already gone through months of exhausting treatments, long hospital visits, and the emotional roller coaster of fighting cancer. After everything he endured, there was finally a moment of relief. Doctors told him he was cancer-free, and for a brief time, it felt like the nightmare was finally over. That moment brought hope. It felt like a turning point. After so much pain, fear, and uncertainty, there was finally a chance to breathe again and slowly return to normal life. But that peace did not last. During a routine follow-up scan, doctors discovered something completely unexpected. Another cancer had appeared. This time, it was P16 squamous carcinoma, affecting his tongue and throat. It was not connected to his previous illness, which made the discovery even more shocking. It felt like a second attack on his body, arriving just when he thought he had already survived the worst. The emotional impact was devastating. Hearing the word cancer once again after believing he had beaten it the first time was heartbreaking. It was not just a medical setback. It was a crushing emotional blow. The feeling of hope being taken away so quickly made the situation even harder to accept. For many people following his story, this moment became one of the most painful parts of his journey. It felt like a cycle that would not break. Every time there was a glimpse of recovery, another challenge appeared. Just when life seemed to be getting better, another difficult chapter began. Instead of moving forward in peace, Dave was forced back into treatment, fear, and uncertainty. The emotional weight of starting over again after believing he was done with cancer was overwhelming. It tested his strength in a completely new way, both physically and mentally. This second diagnosis showed just how unpredictable and cruel his journey had become. What was supposed to be a recovery turned into another fight for survival, proving that his battle was far from over, and that hope, for him, often came with a painful cost. Dave was diagnosed with another form of cancer just when he thought he was finally free from the disease. But what price would he have to pay for treatment beyond money? Could what he cherished most be part of what he would lose to cancer? Now, let's delve into how cancer treatment drained Dave Coulier's body, voice, and strength. The silent damage of survival. The treatments that were meant to save Dave's life slowly began to take a heavy toll on his body in ways that were painful to see and even harder to live through. For Dave Coulier, the journey through radiation and chemotherapy was not just difficult. It became physically exhausting and deeply draining. Day after day, his body was pushed to its limits. The strong energy he once had on screen began to fade as the treatments grew harsher. He lost nearly 45 pounds, and the weight loss was not just a number. It was a clear sign of how much his body was struggling to survive the battle inside him. Simple things that most people take for granted became serious challenges. One of the hardest parts of his recovery was eating. For months, Dave was unable to eat solid food. Meals that once brought comfort and joy were replaced with difficulty, discomfort, and strict medical care. Every bite became a reminder of how much his body had changed. Even basic daily routines no longer felt normal. But perhaps the most heartbreaking impact of all was what happened to his voice. The radiation treatments damaged the very thing that helped shape his identity and career. His voice, warm, familiar, and full of humor, was no longer the same. For a man who built his life on making people laugh through Full House and countless performances, this change carried a deep emotional weight. Fans began to notice something was different. His appearance looked weaker, his voice sounded softer and altered, and his energy seemed reduced. At first, many people did not understand what was happening. They could see the changes, but they did not know the painful reason behind them. Behind the scenes, Dave was not just recovering from cancer, he was also adapting to a body that was changing in ways he never expected. Every day brought new physical challenges, and every change served as a reminder of how powerful and destructive the treatments had been. What the public saw as small differences was actually the result of a long and painful fight for survival, where even his voice and strength had to be rebuilt piece by piece. Dave's second cancer affected his unique voice and left him unable to eat solid food, leading to significant weight loss. But is there a history of this illness in his family that made his struggle even more personal? And how has his family been affected over the years? Now, let's explore the family tragedy that has touched so many lives. A generational shadow of pain. Cancer had already written a painful story in Dave Coulier's life, long before he ever heard the words about his own condition. For Dave Coulier, this disease was not something distant or unfamiliar. It was something he had watched destroy the people he loved most, one after another, over many years. As time passed, cancer became a shadow that seemed to follow his family everywhere. He first experienced deep heartbreak when he lost his mother to the disease. That loss alone was painful enough, but it was only the beginning of a much longer and more tragic journey. Later, his sister Sharon also died from cancer at a young age, leaving another wound in the family that never fully healed. The heartbreak did not stop there. His young niece Shannon, who had barely begun her life, also passed away after battling cancer. Losing someone so young made the pain even harder to understand. It felt unfair, sudden, and deeply cruel. Each loss carried its own weight, but together they created a growing sense of sadness that never truly left the family. Even while grieving, Dave continued to watch cancer remain present in his life. Another one of his sisters is still fighting the same illness today, continuing the painful pattern that has touched so many members of his family. It is as if the disease has never fully let go of them. Watching this happen again and again changed the way Dave saw life. Cancer was no longer just a medical condition. It became a family tragedy that returned without warning, affecting different generations in different ways. Each diagnosis felt like history repeating itself, bringing fear and sadness back into the family's world. By the time Dave faced his own diagnosis, he was not meeting cancer for the first time. He had already seen its effects up close, witnessed the suffering it causes, and felt the emotional weight it leaves behind. It was as if he were stepping into a battle that had been quietly following his family for decades, waiting for its next victim. This long history made his own journey even more emotional, because it was not just about his fight. It was about a pattern of pain his family had been trying to survive for years. Dave Coulier lost several female family members to cancer in a way he could never easily forget. But did he also experience emotional losses with other important women in his life? And is there a pattern behind these painful separations and deaths? Could his life story be marked by repeated losses of loved ones, whether through illness or separation? Let's find out. Love, rumors, and quiet heartbreak. Before his fame, Dave Coulier also lived through a deeply personal chapter shaped by love, family, and emotional uncertainty. In the early 1990s, he was married for 2 years to Jane Modian, a relationship that left a lasting bond through their son, Luke, who was born in 1990. Even after their marriage ended in divorce, they remained connected through parenthood, sharing responsibility for raising their child. After that chapter of his life ended, Dave Coulier moved into another relationship that would later attract public attention for unexpected reasons. He dated singer Alanis Morissette for about 2 years. Their relationship eventually ended just before she released her iconic album, Jagged Little Pill, a record that went on to become one of the most powerful and talked-about music projects of its time, forever shaping her career and sparking public curiosity about their past together. What made this phase of Dave Coulier's life even more unusual was the rumor that followed his breakup with Alanis Morissette. Many people began to believe that her powerful and emotional song, You Oughta Know, was inspired by their relationship. Its raw lyrics and strong emotions sparked endless talk among fans and the media, turning a private breakup into a worldwide topic of curiosity and debate. For years, the rumor stayed unconfirmed, surrounded by silence and mystery. Later, in an interview, Dave reflected on the speculation and admitted he believed there was some truth to it. He even revealed that when he once reached out to Alanis Morissette, he felt he indirectly received confirmation that the song was connected to their past relationship, adding a surprising emotional layer to the story. This small but emotional revelation added another layer to Dave's personal story. It showed how even his private life sometimes became part of public conversation, shaped by fame and interpretation beyond his control. Long before the tragedies and health struggles that later defined his life, this chapter reveals a man navigating love, separation, and the unexpected ways personal experiences can become part of pop culture history. Beyond Dave Coulier's emotional losses involving important women in his life, what became of his male relatives and close companions? Were they able to provide him with the emotional and mental support he needed during difficult times? Or did tragedy also affect them, leaving Dave to grieve even more loss? Let's uncover the painful details. While Dave was already fighting for his health, life kept adding more pain on top of an already heavy burden. For Dave Coulier, the struggle was not only about illness, it was also about losing the people closest to his heart in very painful ways. In 2021, he was hit with one of the most devastating losses of his life when his brother Dan passed away following mental health struggles. It was a shocking and deeply personal tragedy that left the family broken. Losing a sibling is always painful, but losing them in such a sudden and heartbreaking way created a wound that could not easily heal. Not long after that, Dave's grief deepened even more when his father passed away. This meant that in a very short period of time, he had lost both his brother and his father. The emotional weight of these back-to-back losses made it extremely difficult for him to find peace or stability. As if that was not enough, another heartbreaking moment followed. Around the same period, Dave was also mourning the sudden death of his close friend and longtime co-star from Full House, Bob Saget. Their bond went far beyond television. They shared years of friendship, laughter, and memories both on and off screen. Losing him added another deep layer of sadness to Dave's already heavy heart. All of these tragedies did not happen years apart. They came close together, one after another, leaving very little time for emotional recovery. It felt as though grief had become a constant presence in his life, following him everywhere he went. Even while dealing with these personal losses, Dave was still trying to maintain strength for his health battles. This made everything even more difficult. Grieving while also fighting a serious illness created a situation where emotional pain and physical struggle existed at the same time, each one making the other harder to bear. For Dave, this period of life was not just about one tragedy. It was about multiple heartbreaking losses arriving in quick succession, surrounding him with grief while he was still trying to survive and hold himself together. Dave practically lost many of the people who could have given him emotional support during his struggles, whether through death or separation. But did this make him more vulnerable, or did he still find the strength to fight for his survival? And what lessons can be learned from his journey? Now, let's dive into the unbreakable spirit behind Dave's suffering. The remarkable strength through the darkness. What makes the story of Dave Coulier so deeply emotional is not just the amount of pain he went through, but the quiet strength he showed while carrying it all. His journey is not only about illness or loss, but it is also about how a man continued to stand up again and again, even when life kept pushing him down in the hardest ways possible. Through cancer battles, emotional grief, physical weakness, and long periods of exhaustion, Dave never fully gave up on himself. There were moments when his body was tired, when his mind was overwhelmed, and when the weight of everything he had been through felt almost unbearable. Yet, even in those moments, he still tried to hold on to hope. What makes his story even more powerful is that he did not hide his struggle. Instead, he chose to speak about it openly. He shared his health journey, his treatments, and his emotional experiences so that others could learn from them. By doing this, he turned his personal pain into something meaningful for others. One of his strongest messages was about the importance of early cancer detection. He encouraged people to go for regular health checks and not ignore warning signs, because early action can save lives. For Dave, this message came from experience. He understood how quickly life can change when illness is discovered too late. Even while dealing with his own suffering, he continued to focus on helping others make better health decisions. That choice showed a level of strength that goes beyond physical endurance. It showed emotional courage, the ability to think beyond personal pain and still care about others. At the same time, Dave Coulier's journey was not only about illness. It also involved recovery from addiction, deep personal losses, and emotional struggles that made life even heavier. One challenge after another came without much break, yet he still found a way to keep going. Even when life felt overwhelming, he moved forward slowly, holding on to hope and strength just to make it through each day. In the end, his story became something much larger than a celebrity health update. It became a story about survival in its purest form, a story about resilience, hope, and the human ability to keep going even when life feels overwhelming. Through everything, Dave Coulier's journey shows a man who was repeatedly tested by life, but still refused to completely give in. So, what do you think of Dave Coulier's tragedy? Would it have been less painful with more family support? We would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe.